And joining us on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Certainly one of my broadcasting heroes, and if you're of our age, I think most of our broadcasting heroes. The great Jim Nantz joins us. And Jim, you do so unfortunately under an auspice that probably none of us would want, and that is the passing of the great Jim Donovan. Your relationship with Jim through the years, coming in to call Browns games and appreciation for him, where did it land for you?
Well, it runs deep. I really did know him primarily from – by the way, thanks for having me on to talk about Jim. Just such great admiration for him. But when we would have the occasion to be calling the same game, there was always a visit because we all get to the stadiums early. And I remember watching him way back when he was doing some national work for NBC, doing games, and I thought, man, this guy's really, really good. He's outstanding young broadcaster, and became quickly aware of his ties in the market and just anchoring in the market, and of course his long tenure with the Browns, and he just represented everything about the organization and really way beyond that, the community, in such a first-class fashion.
Jim, you guys probably, when you on the visits, and I had the privilege of being in there a few times when you would pop in, but commiserate the fact that we didn't win very often when you got to call our games, so there are not a lot of shared joyous memories.
It's nice to hear your voice again, Nathan.
Yes, good to talk with you.
It really is. But I've thought about him so much here over the last few days, and through the years that he sat in that important position as the voice of the Cleveland Browns. And you're right. Sadly, he didn't have as many triumphant moments to call as I wish he would have had. I don't want to say it as he deserved. He can't control the outcome of these games, but he had to really sit there through some really lean years, but total professional. And when I heard the news that he had passed, I just thought that, looking back on it now, it was like an inspired performance on Sunday. It's almost like it all was tied together. I mean, to beat the mighty Ravens, not a whole lot of people saw that coming, but it feels like now that was one for Jim. It really does to me.
It was, and as we said kind of on the broadcast, like it just had to be that way. And I know you were getting ready for your game, obviously, with Washington and the Bears. But when that score came across, the dial, and I'm not sure if you even saw, Kyle Hamilton dropped probably the easiest interception of his football life. Where did it just kind of say to you, man, that's got to it just had to be for Jim, right?
I was thinking that the whole time. When we're in our booth, you'd be shocked at the number of monitors we have, a monitor wall that includes ISO monitors, primarily for Tony's benefit, where he can just get a direct feed of a player or a group, like a linebacking group, and it's all isolated for him. But I'm right there to see it, too. We also have a monitor that's between us that's on the red zone. I asked for that several years ago. I'm one of these NFL crazy fans, and I think it has to do with a lot of studio work in my past and sitting in the anchor chair at the NFL Today for so many years. I am wired to want to know what's going around the entire league. So when they throw it to us, I throw it to them for, let's go back to our studio in New York. Here's Bill Cowher with an update. And he'll go through a play, and we had several of the Browns and Ravens highlights coming in as updates into our broadcast, and he throws it back to me. I love to be able to tag what he's showing us with something off the cuff. I've been reading all week long. I need a place to dispense with some of this information that's taking up some RAM space in my head. So, listen, I was paying really close attention to that game because I just saw something special was unfolding. I was thinking of Jim Donovan the entire time. And, the interception, it was right in his hands for Kyle Hamilton. And I don't root for teams, okay? I root for stories, and I root for good people. I get asked that all the time. Who's your team? I've got so many contacts and friendships around the league. I root for people that are doing noble things, helping their community, doing great work that we don't always hear or see about. That's what I'm rooting for. So I felt that on Sunday. all about Jim Donovan, and it was really great to see the city have a moment in what has otherwise been a very tough year, but the timing of it to beat the mighty Ravens the day after was storybook stuff.
Jim, certainly know your appreciation for the craft of play-by-play, and Jim Donovan's appreciation for the craft of play-by-play was the stuff of legend going back to his youth, but also doing it in this part of the country, and doing it in a place like Cleveland with a revered franchise like the Browns that means so much to this region. And as Nathan mentioned, the success largely wasn't there much while he was there, but I think in a way that made him even more important to this fan base because he was kind of the one thing you could count on through 25 years was that whatever happened in the result, Jim, you're going to get a hell of a call.
No question. He was the constant. He was in an otherwise very transient industry. Players come and go. He was the constant. He was a rock. He was reliable. I'm sure that everyone felt like, hey, he's one of us. And he was. And it's everything you could ever want in having a hometown play-by-play broadcaster and have that kind of relationship, just pure respect and love back and forth between the citizens of the community and the man that's repping their team. And we all know that you said it, it's a storied franchise, and I know it firsthand. The fan base in Cleveland, they're just amazing fans, great fans. And Jim gave them a great, great ride. And I think, too, about the struggles he had. This just wasn't a sudden thing, as we all know. How hard he fought it, came back, resurfaced. It's been tough. Poor guy. I mean, went through a lot. And I was looking at some pictures earlier this week of him being honored last year at a game and just sitting down in the dog pound, and such a joyful look on his face as he's right in the middle of, the hardiest and most ardent fans of all. And it's too young. I mean, he really, if he had his health, it's a position he could have done. This is going to sound crazy to some people, but it's true. It's happened all over. He could have done this into his 80s.
Oh, yeah.
He really could have if he had his health. And I just regret that for many things, but I regret they didn't have a chance to be there and see some of the better days that no doubt will come for the franchise.
Jim, thank you so much for all of those words.
Yeah, and taking the time and how much you meant to Jim in those conversations. It means a lot to all of us here. Yeah. Thank you so much, and look forward to all of your calls going forward and hopefully run into you sometime down the road.
You're great to have me on. I'm honored to be asked, and I admire what you guys do. I wish all the Cleveland Browns faithful out there best wishes on the rest of the season. Keep faith, because Jim did. He really did.
That's right. By the way, hopefully we can get you some late game drama, and it's been pretty dull for you at the end of these games lately.
I'm going back to Baltimore this weekend, see how they recover from that loss. But I'm coming off of one of the most exciting, thrilling finishes of my career with the Hail Mary.
Yeah,
it's still
unreal.
My voice doesn't even feel, and I'm not sick. It's just I pushed it so hard. I was so shocked when the ball just gently fell into the hands of Noah Brown. I blew out a vocal cord or something. It's still raspy, but man, what a moment to be able to document and have a front row seat to watch it. Somebody said it was the first Hail Mary to end a regular season game ender, no time left, since Aaron Rodgers in 2017 against Detroit, and I did that one.
Yeah, you did.
So I've been very fortunate, but that one, what a scene. It is amazing. And, you go through all that frenzy, and you don't really know what you're saying. You're just in that bubble. You're you're locked in that zone, and something's happening, and you walk away from the booth, and people are saying, hey, man, that was unbelievable what you said. Really? What did I say? I don't know. I just reacted to it, and it's funny going back to listening to it, and I've had a chance to hear it several times since on some other shows and everything, but there's some things in there that I don't normally say, or my inflection was different than I normally would say, but that was just, I think, had to do with, just being completely enveloped in the moment. So this town is going crazy. It was wild. It was just wild. And, a madhouse, as I think how I described it. So it was, we count our blessings for a lot of things. And my friendship, I want to circle it back to Jim. This is one of the things I'm really grateful for is to meet great people on the road like him, a true professional who, man, was one of the real, true, great voices of the NFL.
Thank you so much, Jim. Thanks for your time.
Yes.
Thank you. All the best. Thank you again, guys, for having me on.